Hey there, welcome back to the vlog. So this weekend has been absolutely glorious. I've been out to the beach with the kids, I've been for walks and things, and it's been a generally very good weekend. Today we're having our first heat warning, which is something that happens quite often in Toronto. If you've grown up in England, you never really get these. We get the national newspapers go, oh my god, the world's coming to an end, it's going to be an inferno. And actually there's one story that comes up year after year after year, even though it's now like 2016, maybe even earlier. But again, it's resurfacing on Facebook that this summer the world is going to come to an end in England. And so one of the biggest problems that we have here is literally the humidity and the temperature swings. During the winter it can be maybe minus 35 with the wind chill, but then in the summer it's not uncommon to be plus 35 with the humidity. Today it's going to be over that, it's going to be like plus 37 or something with the humidity. So with this 70 or 80 degree swing, what we end up with is, depending on if it's winter or summer, it's the same advice that's being given. There are the same problems, it's just that you go from being hot to being cold. As an example of the problems, your houses, they breathe in and out. So they go from extremely dry air to extremely humid air. So one minute the timber in the frame of your house is drying out and the house is cracking and shrinking. You get everything all sort of corked up and painted and looking nice. And then summer arrives and everything starts to expand again, and so you end up with the same cracks coming back. So when you look at a lot of houses, once they get over about 30-40 years old, there are like permanent cracks along certain places where it's just there's no point in fixing it because it's just going to keep expanding and contracting like the house breathes. Another problem that we have is from a health standpoint. You've got in the winter, the young people and the old people shouldn't be outside. Everybody needs to stay hydrated regardless of age, and you're not to do any strenuous exercise outside because it will probably put you in hospital. Then the same thing happens during the summer. It's, don't go outside if you can help it. Try not to do exercise in the heat of the day if you can help it. Stay hydrated. Keep the young and the old out of the direct heat. It's the same solution to a similar problem, but just at the opposite end of the scale. If anything, there's certain merit to the idea that if you go to the two extremes, eventually they come back round to the same place. It's almost the same thing here. Today I had to go for a run because I haven't been for a run for several days, but I had to do it early in the morning before the heat and the humidity kicked in, and even then I still feel as if I probably ran twice as far as what I actually did because the humidity is so high. It takes its toll on you and you end up sweating like buckets. So on top of this, I also had a quick look, just a cursory one, to see if an old problem that I noticed years ago still exists with Toronto's weather. And it was something very specific. I never did get the answer to it previously when I looked into it, but in a nutshell, here's how this works. I used to drink on a Monday night with my boss because that was the night that he dictated that we had to drink. And so I used to be out back in these days as a smoker in the car park looking up at the stars and going like, why is it I can see the stars clearly tonight, but on the Tuesday night where I don't have to go to the pub to meet with my boss, I would get home, pull out my telescope, and invariably it would be cloudy or bad weather or hazy or it's raining or something like that. And this went on for many months. I thought I was going bonkers at one point because it seemed like almost every week the same thing was happening over and over. Me being me, I did actually look into this eventually, and what I ended up finding was that around 10 o'clock at night there is a predictable pattern, but it runs on a 7-day schedule. Now, just in case this isn't entirely obvious, the Earth does not run on a 7-day schedule, which means whatever it was I was looking at was man-made. Probably pollution of some type, but I couldn't work out what. Whatever it was though, it does affect Toronto's climate, especially in the sort of Toronto microclimate that we have. It's a phenomenon many large cities and towns have, where basically there's so much heat and convection and radiation coming out of the city that it ends up altering the weather around the city itself. But what I did notice is this wasn't just a Toronto problem, it was actually happening across Canada. So I got as far as obtaining most of Canada's historical weather data for all of the major cities across Canada up until about 2014. Thereabouts, I guess. I haven't updated it since to see if there is, a continuation on a weekly basis, but it does look like, just quickly glancing at this, that the problem does still exist. So I think at some point, once I've sorted out all of the minutiae that's flying around me right now, I'm probably going to come back and have a look at this to see Is it still the same? Is it getting worse? Is it getting better? Has it changed in other cities compared to where it used to be? So I actually had some C code that I wrote in order to pull this stuff out of Environment Canada, because they used to have a DOS based system that would have all the historical information, but then you couldn't do anything with it. And they have these online data marts where all the data is, but then there's nothing that can consume it. So what I ended up having to do, I rolled my own, and just to basically not stress everybody out, I put it on an original Raspberry Pi. So I wrote it in C, if I remember rightly, put it onto Raspberry Pi, and then basically I would have this command line utility that I would say, go get everything from Montreal from say 1860 to 2014. What did it do? So it would go out to Environment Canada, pull down 1 day's worth of data, save it, and then I think there was a PHP script that would actually run through all of the downloaded days and upload that to SQL Server. No, it wasn't SQL Server, it was MySQL. Anyway, it would upload it to MySQL, which is how I ended up with this really, really massive Environment Canada MySQL database. It's sitting on my Mac server upstairs, and it just needs to be updated just to see if this problem is still as bad as it used to be. But anyway, it was an interesting thing to work on. I should actually do something with that data, because Environment Canada, while they don't allow you to sell it, they do allow you to open this stuff up and make derivative works of it and stuff. And maybe this is something that would benefit other Canadians, especially those who want to use this data, because the current system, as I said, like it's great that the data's there, but it's not in a format that anybody can use easily. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there for today because I'm rambling now. But if you like these videos, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, thumbs down. If you want to see more, please hit subscribe, and speak to you soon. Bye.